the night that I decided that I was going to do this, I was texting a friend that I was close to at the time in high school, and she had gone through the same exact thing. She was not a believer, but she went through depression and she tried to commit suicide. And one thing that really stuck to me, and I can say that she saved me from myself in that moment. When I was younger, I just remember crying a lot. I would cry myself to sleep. I would cry throughout the day, and that just felt normal to me. It felt like it was what everybody else was doing. I didn't think of it as an abnormality. But once I got to high school, which is you're more self-conscious, you compare yourself to other people. You go to other people's homes and you start to realize, hey, my home doesn't reflect that. Your home is actually filled with love, and it has two parents that love each other, and it has siblings that get along with each other. And it makes you self-reflect on, okay, maybe my normal actually isn't normal. And so when I got exposed to all of those things, I would come home and just start dwelling on what I didn't have, and the love that I didn't have, and the loneliness that I felt. And my parents going through a divorce, it was almost like, okay, well, why wasn't I able to have two parents that loved each other and weren't going through a divorce? And so all of this comparison was adding fuel to the fire that was always there, but I neglected to acknowledge, and that I kept tucked under the rug. And so finally, when I realized that hurting myself is not normal, pulling my hair out is not normal, cutting my own flesh is not normal, is when I finally was like, maybe I do need help. And so when I was finally diagnosed and this was brought to light, I was on medication, and it gets worse before it gets better. So through these times of adjusting to a medication that is altering the chemicals in my mind, then it turned into, it was no longer these negative thoughts of comparison. It was no longer just the self-harm. It turned into, this world would be so much better without me in it. My family would be so much better off if I wasn't here. All the bad things that are happening in my household are somehow my responsibility now. And because other people are unhappy and unsatisfied, that is my fault, because I was unsatisfied and I was unhappy and I felt lonely. And because of all of these things, I put so much value in that I was like, okay, maybe this earth is better off without me. And that's when suicide came into the picture, and the thought of ending my life, and the thought of maybe I would be more at peace if I wasn't here. And that is far from the truth. But in those moments, it's something that you can't describe. You can't describe the thoughts that go on in your mind to somebody that doesn't struggle with this, because they just feel so real and they hold so much weight. And when you're going through depression, you can't really think for yourself. These thoughts are overpowering, and you feel weak. So when you feel weak and you have these overpowering thoughts of just end it, which is the enemy telling you to do this, the enemy is trying to lead you to death, when realistically we should be listening to God and be led to victory, we are strayed away. And so the voices in your mind, the things that are being said to you in your mind, are more and more convincing. And more convincing. And some people do plan it. They take their time and they plan on doing this. But then other people, like myself, I did not plan it. It was in the moment that I just could not take the feeling anymore. I was so tired of feeling like I was a burden. I was so tired of feeling sad. I was so tired of feeling like I would never, ever be happy. And I didn't want to live the rest of my life like that. So I thought, why not end it now? Why not put myself out of this misery now? And it's never the answer. It never is. There is no solution to that in the moment, is what you think. There's no solution to this other than ending your life. The night that I decided that I was going to do this, I was texting a friend that I was close to at the time in high school, and she had gone through the same exact thing. She was not a believer, but she went through depression and she tried to commit suicide. And one thing that really stuck to me, and I can say that she saved me from myself in that moment, was she told me, how would you feel if your two youngest brothers grew up with a sister 6 feet underground? And that is when I was like, what am I doing? What am I thinking? It snapped me out of that moment, because I was no longer being selfish in just thinking of myself. I was now being put in a situation where it was like, that is so true. Why would I make my brothers go through the pain of having to grow up, going to, the cemetery or wherever it was, to talk to me when I've already passed away? Like, that was such a heavy burden in my heart, where I was like, this is not what I want for them. This is not what I want for my mom. I couldn't even imagine putting my mom through that, because she loved us so much and she would truly give her life for us. And so how could I be that selfish in that moment to think that it was okay to put my family through that on top of everything else that was going on? So that's where I found also a bit of motivation of, no, I can't do this. This is not what I'm going to do. I'm not going to put people through pain.
Disciples and Generals program and podcast is brought to you by Make Him Famous Network. Inspire, entertain, and uplift.